I super appreciate you all like making the time and doing this. The next hour is going to be just super valuable. And I'm so excited to offer this. It's kind of this like fun collab of things that I do with my like really high achieving clients and applying it to the holiday season. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and pull up the deck. We're gonna go through some slides and then we're gonna like jump in and start planning stuff. Hit me up in the chat if you need anything. In the meantime, I'll be like popping back and forth there. Let's see. Okay. Let me just get situated here. My camera is good in the corner. Okay. Productive and peaceful holiday webinar. It's here. It's a guide to a non-shitty holiday season. I'm smiling just because I know how crazy this time is, and I just feel like we all feel it. Anyway, let me see how I can, why isn't my, oh, there we go. Whoa. I don't know why my keyboard is not working to move this. This is just an intro slide. We're going to skip it. Nobody cares about that. Okay. The holidays promise to be joyful, peaceful, fun, relaxing, except that they usually aren't. Instead, they're exhausting and draining, and we feel wrecked by the time we get to January 1st. Oops. Oh my gosh. Sorry, guys. This year, the goal is for you to arrive at January 1st with time and energy to spare. During this season, there's so many priorities that are seemingly just like pulling for your attention. And today I really want you to feel like you become the ringmaster of your own time and you like the way that you're going to spend it. And then from an energetic perspective, this time can be like really heightened as well, right? There's this pressure to make everything special and to make it magical and like all of these things. And so like, no matter how much you do, you're gonna put energy into it. But you also deserve to enjoy your holiday. And we're gonna look at today how you're expending your energy and what's maybe taking your energy so that you have reserves of it by the time the holiday ends. This used to be me post-holiday. Enjoy this hilarious photo. I look exhausted. This photo, I think, was taken around like January 10th, but I used to take like the earliest or the latest flights to maximize my time finishing work at the end of the year and like being with my family for the most possible time. I would say yes to every single gathering, even like squeezing in gatherings or like a breakfast with high school friends on Christmas Day before I would go to my grandparents' house for like a full day of, celebrating with them as well. I would do tons of research to try to find the perfect gift. And it was almost like my default mode to fulfill every single tradition. And I would look like this at the end of the holiday. It usually would hit like somewhere between January 5th to January 10th. And there were some years like that I wouldn't feel quite like, I would still feel kind of wrecked until like even the end of February. And that's like the time that I wanted to like think about the new year, whatever, but it always felt like I was just only able to recover. And it was annoying to me. And I never left the holidays actually feeling fulfilled and like I got what I wanted. I was trying so hard to be and create everything for everyone else, but was left kind of like this, feeling like I wanted to, just crash on a pillow. And I learned how to re-engineer the whole thing. And I've taught a bunch of other people to do this too. And like today we're going to use a tried and true method it's a kind of a mini version of, and a more specific to the holidays version of what I do with my clients who are high achievers. They're women. And this is what they use or what we use to create amazing results that have them feeling energized and aligned with how they spend their time and energy in their work and in their lives. And today you're going to leave with an actual plan. You're going to leave with like actual blocks on your calendar of the things that you want to do this year. And most of you know me, but I'm going to share just a little bit about myself. Like, why am I doing this webinar in the first place, right? I spent about a decade in the corporate world in New York. I worked in the advertising industry. I worked with great and horrible managers. I ended up like kind of remaking the way that I did that on my own terms with my own tools. And about halfway through that career, I became a yoga teacher. And so I learned this whole new philosophy. It's a little bit more of like an Eastern philosophy, and it's ancient, but it felt very new to me as someone who grew up in the Western world and in America. And it helped me to approach leadership and success without stressing and without totally burning out. Along the way, I've also done like positive psychology trainings to help me learn about how we're motivated, the difference between just being okay and how do we really thrive in our life and in our work. And doing that without forcing it or without expending the amount of energy we think we have to like make things happen for ourselves. And then I became a coach with the Life Coach School because I wanted to know the psychology and I wanted to know really how to help people overcome obstacles. And like all of those things combined filter down into what I do and what I spend all of my time on now, besides being a mom and, you know, having my own life. I'm an executive coach for women. So I help senior level women create more success and fulfillment without burning out, without stressing out. And that's why like today is really a fun kind of merge of this like holiday season stuff with using the tools that I use with my clients in their work life. We're gonna, no shocker here, we're gonna talk about the problem and the solution. So you're not only working full-time, racing to the end of Q4 during this time, you're also Santa, I call it. If you don't celebrate Christmas, the idea here is that you're thinking of buying, planning, and probably like wrapping all the gifts. You're trying to maybe uphold a bunch of traditions. You're trying to maybe even consider your grandparents' traditions, your parents' traditions, and then what traditions you might want to share with children if you have them. Or maybe even considering just like, what do you want to be the thing that you do during the holiday? And we're going to like talk a lot more about that. You're also the joy factory. So it's like thinking about all these like little things that you might do to create magic. Maybe it's like baking special cookies or, you know, hosting special like events for friends or family. There's so many events during this time and there's like pressure to show up to all of them. And not only are you going to events, you're also, and if you're going to events, you're probably also contributing, or you could be contributing from a food perspective or something else. And then you're also hosting, even if it's just your immediate family, you're still thinking about and spending energy on what are you cooking? Well, what are you going to do? Like, what's the order of events? And then some of us also are doing potentially long trips via plane or car, traveling to see loved ones. And it's a lot. And so we're going to talk about really what's going on. This might be a little bit of a shocker, but too much actually isn't the problem. There's actually like always kind of too much to do, unfortunately. The problem or the hitch here is that you are trying to get an A in every subject when the scale is actually pass fail. And today, we're going to talk about how you don't have to power through anymore, but these are some of the things that might feel really familiar, things that you've tried to be like, I want the holidays to be special, or these are the things that I feel like I have to do. So I stay up late and I stay up super late to like finish wrapping the last gifts, or decorating because like all of my other time is sucked up doing something else. This idea of adding to cart, play on words with like gifting, but it's like an easy time to endlessly want to say yes without considering what else is on the calendar. You're kind of spending a lot of time like reading minds and thinking about what everybody else wants from you, right? How much time are you spending thinking, oh, they expect me to show up, or they expect this from a gift, or like contributing, etc. And then again, this idea of tradition, of like feeling this pressure to uphold things that maybe you don't care about anymore. When you do this like power through thing, a couple things happen besides like ending up exhausted. you start feeling like resentment and anger. Um, and this isn't like commentary on how you need to like check your attitude and feel joyous and lovely this holiday season. Cause like, and I'm sure like it's super easy to get there because it's like, well, I have all, most of you probably have like some resources and it's like, I should feel grateful. This idea, like, we're talking about resentment and anger because this is about tending to your internal emotions and your internal landscape. And like, just on a really basic level, it never feels good to feel these things. And it's like another thing, feeling resentful and angry about like everything that you need to do or feel like you have to do. Usually it's like directed at someone else in our lives. And we think that that's going to make us feel better. And it does for a little bit. But then it starts draining energy, like a lot of energy actually from you. And that's why I bring it up, because eventually it starts not feeling good. And eventually it's just an energy suck. And I'm going to teach you how to like fix this also. So we are saying goodbye to the era of feeling resentful and angry during the holidays. And the reason why is there's one thing that you're not aligning with, and that is doing what you want to do. And I understand that me saying this could be like, especially around the holidays, might be a little bit bold, and it maybe is a little triggering to some of you. And we're going to talk about how you can begin to use this strategy. But I totally get that, like, telling someone just do what you want might feel like, what are you talking about? There's like nothing available to me to like get, like I don't ever get to pick what I want to do around the holidays. And if you're someone who can see the places where you get to choose what you want to do, you can have some like gratitude for that as well. Okay, we're going quick through these slides. We're gonna start talking about how to apply this so that you can have a productive and peaceful holiday. And this is going to create clarity, and it's just a really simple process that's going to work. Okay, so starting with a little quote. I love this. Actually, I first heard this from one of my best friends, and she was telling it to me because one of her female bosses shared it with her, I think after she had her first child. And it's this idea that like you're juggling a lot of balls, and some of them are glass and some of them are plastic, and your job is not to juggle them all. Your job is to know which ones are plastic so that you know which ones you can drop and which ones you can't drop or that you don't want to drop. And I don't know exactly who told her that, but she was obviously a wise woman. So when we start talking about the solution of how we're going to approach this, I love using acronyms because it's just who I am, but this one is MVP. You will still be the MVP of the holiday season. You always are. You always have been. But first, we're going to talk about mindset a little bit, because you are driven to take action based on how you're thinking and how you feel. And so we're going to start there, because yeah, the holidays can be like emotional and like a little bit like, we feel like we're cornered sometimes. And then we're going to talk about values. And really, this is about realigning with what you care about and how you want to spend your time. And then we're going to talk about the plan, and we're going to actually make a plan. So we're going to make some decisions, just straight up make decisions. And then we're also specifically going to make decisions before you are under the pressure of the holiday season, so that you can create time and space, right? Like once we start planning stuff, like this is what I used to do. I kind of would like, oh, the holidays are coming. Oh, I'm running out of time. Oh shoot, it's Black Friday. I have to like buy gifts, or maybe I miss usually I miss Black Friday completely. And I'm in it trying to like dig through the muck of everything happening and try to find space and time, which makes it like way, way harder to do. So we're going to get a little bit ahead of it. Like that might be like half the secret. Okay, but first, let's talk about your mind. Principle 1. Also, if you have questions along the way, write them down or put them in the chat, and I will come back to them and answer them. Okay, principle 1, no matter what, you don't have to do anything. And this is the part that gets a little bit like, wait, what? Consider the fact that you've spent a lot of your life being told what to do. like we could say like at least 18 years, you were like very specifically told what to do. And so considering that like you were told like you got to go to school, you got to behave, maybe you were told you had to like play certain sports, or I was told I had to play a musical instrument. I'm like grateful for that now, but there's a litany of things, and it's just kind of a product of like being a child, that we kind of we get into that mode. It we're told that at like very formative times in our life, that we kind of keep like rolling on that train track even as we become adult women, and we sometimes forget that that we are in charge, that you are in fact absolutely in charge of anything that you do. If I were to, like if we were to put this into a context of the holiday season, it's like, if I'm saying you don't have to do anything, we could take like gifting, for example. And I could say something like, like when I tell this to most people, they're kind of like, no, like I have to get my kids gifts, I have to get my parents gifts, I have to get my partner gifts. And my response would be like, you don't have to do that at all. There's plenty of people that don't give gifts to their children. They don't give gifts to their partner. They don't give gifts to their parents. They don't give gifts to their friends. And what most people kind of end up saying in response to that is like, oh, well, yeah, but I like want to. And then I'm like, oh, you want to give gifts. This is so important. And it's kind of a small-ish, it seems small-ish, but it's a big reframe. When you're in the energy of like, I have to do this, I have to do that, it gets like heavy. It gets pretty heavy. And like, as humans, we want autonomy. We want to feel like we are the ones in control. When you are in the energy of like, I want to do that thing, it kind of shifts the vibe. It puts you back into like the driver's seat. And it automatically puts your brain into a mode of like, okay, I want to do this. And it opens up all these other possibilities, like, oh, how do I want to do it? Do I want to go all out and like have a train going around the tree or what? I don't know. I always imagine like the movie where it's like all the gifts and there's like the train going and it looks like actually Santa showed up. Do I want to do that, or do I want to like keep it simple and sweet? Only you are the one who chooses why you are doing something. And what we're going to like be playing around with today is knowing your reasons why you're doing something, and you get to choose to like them. So there might be some stuff this holiday that you're like, you know what? I'm going to go to my mother-in-law's like extra Christmas thing or extra holiday thing. Does it make me feel like the most joyous ever? No. But I know that it means like a ton to her. And I know that I'm like not going to go next year, or I know that eventually it'll be gone and I might miss it, or I know that whatever. You get to make up your reasons for why you do something, and then you get to choose to like them. And there might be that same thing, that same example I gave. It might be like, no, that event makes me lose my marbles every year. I'm not doing it anymore for my own peace. And you get to like your reason. And your peace is certainly enough. Principle 2, you are always one decision away from creating less uncertainty, chaos, and time spinning. A decision is better than no decision at all. I was like just having a conversation with my mom, Jan, for those who know. And I was like, Mom, flights are getting kind of expensive. Like usually my grandparents, or my one grandparent that's still alive, it has their thing at the beginning of the holiday kind of week. And then my immediate family does at the end. So I'm like trying to plan my flights to match with that. And I'm like asking her, and she immediately starts going into the spinning thing. I'm like, well, I don't know what they're, and then like your brother, I'm not really sure. I haven't heard from them. And I said, Mom, let's make a decision. Let's pick a date. Like it's not like this is our first holiday season. Let's pick a date. Let's put it on the text thread, and so that people can respond to it. Let's make one decision in the direction that we're going. It's not like it's written in stone, right? We want to start playing with decisions in a way where it's like, we think that we have to make the perfect best decision on the first try. And that's what keeps us from making any progress. So any one decision is better than no decision at all. And this might apply to how you research or buy gifts. My example there would be like, maybe you do give like a little bit of an imperfect gift, but then you find out like, does that niece or nephew love that thing? Maybe you missed the boat this year, but you learn and you like try again next year and do better, or not even like do better, but like, you adjust, right? So knowing that like there's always another decision to be made, and you're always gaining new information, and you can always change the decision. Principle 3, when your usual operating system is high achiever, you have to be conscious about doing less and trying less. If you're here, you are likely you have likely resonated with this idea of feeling like overwhelmed and stressed at the holidays. And probably, you know, also if you're like attracted to like my work and what I'm doing here, you're likely also identify as a high achiever. Um, and what happens is we almost train ourselves over the years. I love being a high achieving person and like doing a lot of things, but there's something to be said for context switching, and there's something to be said about sometimes something has to give. And it used to be like, in my case, it used to be me. Like I was the thing that gave, like I was the one who exhausted, I was the one who was wrecked, and it would like trickle into everything else in my life. And I don't want that to be you, and I don't want that to be like us as women anymore. And instead, the thing that can give is you deciding that like priorities are real and that you are going to make some things less important. That last one might be a little bit more of a warning, because that's what we're going to like start talking about. Your values, like what you really care about. Not everyone has the same values. Your values are yours. Other people have the things that they value. So when you're doing something, and I want you to kind of think about it during related to the holiday season, because you want other people to value it too, right? If you're trying to create something, a joyful moment, you're naturally going to choose something that you kind of think is joyful. But if you're doing it with the intention to make other people feel joyful, you're probably going to get a little disappointed and feel like no one's appreciating the hard work you're putting in. Because like everyone cares about things a different amount. And this isn't, again, commentary on like, well, just don't do anything. The point I want to make is that it makes it even more important for you to lean into the things that really bring you joy. The only way we can guarantee our joy is by like leaning into the things that make us joyful. And so in this regard, you have to know what you care about. And this doesn't have to be some deep spiritual experience. We're going to do an exercise in a couple minutes to help you figure out and decide what you value. But you have to know that like, if you try to end up fulfilling everybody else's values, you might be like a little disappointed, and that's the thing that's going to make you drained. If you're always aligning with what makes me joyful, what am I loving, what do I love to do during the holiday season, you're guaranteed to like create an amazing experience for yourself. And then within that, not everything has the same amount of importance, and you get to decide what's most important and what's less important for you. And that's part of the key of being aligned with yourself and not getting to the end of the holiday feeling like disappointed that you felt like you missed something, or that you just like you got robbed of time. Like you're going to consciously decide beforehand. And then within the things that you want to do, there's still kind of this hierarchy, and I built a whole scale for that that's going to help you kind of determine what things you're going to spend time on, like the most time on, and which things are going to be less important. I call this, it's very scientific, consciously half-assing. Okay. I really want you to like embrace this and like go around telling your friends. We're going to decide on purpose what is not getting our full attention. This is this kind of process of making our own report cards and deciding which things we want to get an A in. And when I say A, I really mean like an A for joy and like loving and enjoying doing something. We're going to decide which things we're going to just like pass, like meaning like pass or fail scale, like half-ass them, meaning I just have to get to a certain standard, but not like my very best or putting every ounce of energy I have into it. And then we're also going to decide where we're going to fail on purpose, or things that we're like not going to do at all. Failing, not doing something at all isn't really failing. but it might register like that in your brain if you're anything like me, which most of my clients are similar. And then we're going to plan how to approach the plan. Okay, so first I want you to consider work. For most of you, you probably have less flexibility there. Then we're going to look at personal stuff. And this third thing is like a little technical, but I'm just kind of showing you what's behind the curtain. One of the things we're going to do is condense the scale to evaluate importance. So like, as we're deciding what we want to spend more time on or what's more important and less important, if we go through everything, we're like, well, I'm gonna wrap gifts at like a level 7, and then I'm gonna like do the cookie baking or whatever at a 4. That's too complex for our brain to really understand like how we're efforting within that. So we're gonna condense that scale a bunch. And I did a little bit here of like the work scale and the personal scale. This is just a teaser of what's gonna be in the worksheet to come. But we're gonna consider work first. Like, how intense is work for the next 8 weeks? And based on that, how many priorities are you going to like approach based on other things going on in your life this year, just for this year? And then we're going to talk about the art. We're not going to talk. It's just this idea of the art of scheduling. We're going to actually put it on your calendar. A lot of times we're like, think it all stays in our head, and then it gets a little loosey goosey when it comes to like, when am I doing what? You're going to consciously say no to other less important things. And I want to like highlight, this can be temporary. You don't, like maybe this year you're not buying gifts for the entire classroom, like for your kids, or maybe you're not doing, in past years, you've always gotten tons of your friends a like beautiful gift. But this year, something else is more important to you. It can be temporary. Like, I think a lot of us we think if we say no once, then it means like we're saying no forever. And it's just not true. And then we're going to include buffers for chaos. So it's kind of this idea of like, stop acting surprised when shit hits the fan every holiday. Like, someone's probably going to get sick. Maybe it's you, maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your parents. Like, flights are probably going to get delayed. I think that happened last year. Like, our flight just got canceled out of nowhere, and we ended up having to like land at like 1 a.m. or something. This stuff, like, life still happens during the holiday season, but whenever things get busy, we kind of like start hoping and dreaming that we can power through and the schedule will work perfectly. We're not going to do that. We're going to consciously put in time for buffering or like backup days, expecting something to kind of go off the rails, because that's life. And like, it's really important to me, at least to me, this is living in reality. It's like making the best. We're going to make the best of like what's in front of us, and like let ourselves expand ourselves of what we maybe expand from what we normally do, and also stay rooted in like accepting the fact that like stuff happens. This is just a lot more words about what I just said. You don't have to say no forever. You can have a thing be special in a tradition one year, not do it the next year, and then pick it back up another year. Like, no one's failing you at life for doing that. We're planning blank spaces. You're welcome for like a couple of Taylor Swift references in here. One thing about being realistic for your time and energy that I want to call out is there's no bonus points for being the most exhausted. And instead of thinking like they'll be mad if I don't do more, right? We kind of create this pressure around ourselves, or maybe there's real pressure from specific people. You might try thinking, if I do what I can, I make it okay for others to relax more too. I think a lot of us want an excuse to relax a little bit more. And like, sometimes someone has to go first. And if that reframe helps you, I wanted to give it to you. Okay, so I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it, and we're going to do it together. So grab the link to the docs in the chat or the email, and we're gonna like jump right in. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and I'm gonna put up a different document, I think, if I can get it here. Okay, let me see if there's any questions really quick. Hi, I have to go. No worries. Awesome. Okay. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Lisa. Okay, pull up, please, the holiday planning guide. I need to pull it up also. We're going to start here, and you can write in your document. And we're going to take the next 3 to 5 minutes. Please do this in a way that is very chill. Maybe I would play music, but every time I've seen someone else do that on a Zoom or on a webinar, it sounds horrible. But if you want to put on your fave holiday music, I want you to start part one and reflecting a little bit. And this is just to kind of get your brain moving in the direction of things that you enjoyed about past years, things you didn't love, what feels scary to stop doing. So I'm gonna stop talking for a bit so that you can do this. You could write it in the doc, you could write it in your journal, whatever. Take a few minutes. And then if anything surprises you about what you wrote down, feel free to share it in chat as well. We're gonna be back at like 40 minutes after the hour, maybe a minute before. Again, do this really chill. This isn't, again, don't act like you're trying to get an A. This is a pass fail type of thing. Okay, spend the next minute or so wrapping up. Rapid fire. You're making bullet points. You're doing this like, you know, you're thought dumping. No one's gonna see this. Make it messy. Unleash yourself, for God's sakes. And we're gonna then move to part two. Okay, wherever you got, amazing. Scroll down to part two, prioritizing. We're gonna spend like 10-ish minutes. Okay, for work, you're gonna choose one of 3 options. If your work intensity slows down for the next 8 weeks, you're a 1. If your work stays the same for the next 8 weeks, you're a 2. If your work ramps up in the next 8 weeks, you're a 3. If you think that if like usually your work ramps up, but you're thinking this year it might not, still pick a 3. Like, give yourself lots of buffer. Don't be ambitious about this. Be as realistic as you possibly can. If you tend to work in an industry where like stuff is always popping up, pick 3. Unless like you're only picking one if you know for sure the intensity slows like way down in the next 8 weeks. Okay. So based on that number, you're going to go to part two, section B, personal. And then based on the number you picked for work, you're gonna it will determine how many priorities you are going to choose in this like next section. Priorities are things that you will approach as a 10, meaning you will give your normal amount of effort towards them. So like if you're like I love decorating and that's the thing you want to prioritize, you're going to like just you're going to turn on the music, you're going to like do all the things that you normally do when you decorate. So each of you is going to pick between 3 and 5 of those things and that's it. Okay? So you're really going to pick the most important things. And then you're going to pick as many things as you want, whatever amount feels right based on your year. You can also consider personal stuff. If you have like a sick family member, if you have, you know, other things going on, you can like consider that as well when you're choosing this like half-ass part. These are things that you will approach as a 5. Like when you're thinking about your scale of like 10 is my like best effort and 0 is like no effort. Half-ass is like I effort it at like a 5, meaning that you will do them, but you will consciously give less effort. And you're going to label as many things a 5 as you feel the right to you. And then you're also going to make a note about like how you are going to scale it back. I left an example in each section below that's going to help you or might give you some examples. And I want you to like, if you're going blank, like, hey, what are some ideas on how to half-ass gift wrapping? Drop it please in the chat and we can all brainstorm together. Like I have plenty of ideas, trust me. But it's helpful to hear from other people about what they do. But I want you to specifically write down how you're going to effort it less. This is that like conscious half-assing, deciding like, what am I not going to do that I normally kind of would like do because I'm doing everything at the same level, right? So it might be assigning it to someone else, buying pre-made food, regifting, whatever. And then there's going to be, there's going to be some things that you're not going to do. And I want you to put a 0. And it means that you're not going to do them this year. And it could be that you're like never doing them ever, but I want you to see the things that you're not doing. Sometimes it's helpful to be like, you know what, I'm not doing all of it. That can be like helpful just in this process. Okay, so you're going to get going. I made a little chart. I put an example on each one just to kind of get your brain going. There's a home category. There's a gifting category. There's an event category, children category. If you don't have children, skip it completely. And then additional. Each one of the categories has some blank spaces for you to write in other stuff that isn't listed. And then there's the additional thing that you can put anything else that is like a thing that you do during the holidays. So go ahead and take another 5 minutes and see how far, like see if you can get through this. You're going kind of quick. Like I would start with your priorities and be like, how many do I have? Is it 3, 4, or 5? And go through and be like, what are the top things that I'm going to give a 10? Okay. Please drop into the notes as you go. If you need ideas for how you might half-ass something. And the half-assing is not like some secret. It's just what you decide. And then we're going to come back at about 50 minutes after the hour. So about 5 more minutes. Or if you get done before that, just say so in the chat. Okay, how are we doing? Um, let's do like one more minute or start to kind of wrap up. You should be like appropriately spending kind of maybe a little bit more time picking what your tens are, your priorities, those 3 to 5 things based on like your work schedule and other things you have going on. And then everything else is like a 5 or a 0. Like everything else is half-ass basically, unless you're not doing it at all. And try to at least have like 3 things that you're not doing. Um, and we'll have a little bit of time for questions in a couple moments, that if you're stuck on like, how can I do that less, um, we can use that time for that as well. Okay. See if you can wrap up. And I want to move you to part 3, scrolling all the way to the bottom. I want you to actually get out your calendar, pull it up on your computer. And first, I want you to schedule the priority things. And I want you to think about each one, and make a call. Like, do you need a whole day for it? Do you need a half day? And I want you to start like putting it on the calendar. And again, just make a decision right now. It doesn't mean like, I'm not going to come into your house and be like, you changed it. Obviously, make a decision, get it on the calendar, and then you can like always adjust. Just know, like, this is your first draft. You can change it or adjust if you need to. You can, and most likely you'll need to, because you'll start putting everything on and you'll realize, oh, there's actually just too much. I need to like scale back some stuff. I'm literally like out of time. Um, so you're gonna do the priorities. And then I would schedule those like separate unless two of them are really, really like close, tied together. And then the half-ass things, um, some of the half-ass things might be like, we're going to my brother's house. Um, and this can be that place where you drop that on the calendar for like if you have a lot of things like the week of Christmas or in specific chunks or like around New Year's Eve or something, you can drop events in. But for other things that you're maybe doing more on your own, I recommend picking like one or two half days or 2-hour windows, maybe one kind of now-ish where you can move through several like things to plan, and then one later that's like a little bit closer to the actual holiday. But see if you can mush some of these together, like carve out almost like a we used to I used to do this thing called time blocking on my calendar. If I had like a big presentation to do, I would block like 3 hours of a day, and I'd go put myself in a conference room and get like a bunch done on a presentation or a new pitch or something. We can use the same approach where if you pick a chunk, you can also communicate a little bit more clearly, like, hey, partner, I need you to take the kids out of the house on this day, and like plan ahead so that you're not like showing up to that weekend and then your partner's like, oh, well, I already have this plan, or I'm out of town, or blah, blah, blah. I want you to also consider scheduling rest days and backup days. I want you to find windows that you're going to do nothing, or maybe your nothing is just like sitting and having a cup of coffee and enjoying the decor in your home. And I also want you to schedule at least one backup day, which is like if you get sick on the day you're wanting to go gift shopping, you have a backup day to do that. And lastly, if you actually run out of space on your calendar, you're going to make some of your fives into zeros if you can. As much as we feel like everything's important, this is where like it's really important to not only understand the concept of consciously doing less, but being able to execute it. If anyone's having trouble with that or feeling like freaked out, please say so in the chat again. I promise you, everyone will be okay. The person that you think is going to be mad at you, like maybe they will be a little bit, but that's also okay. And you're not a bad person for protecting your own sanity and your own peace, especially during this time. Let's take one more minute. And then we're going to come back to the slides for a couple moments and have time for questions. Okay. Put your pens down or your phones down for a second. And I want to just share a little bit about my program and more about the work that I do, and if you're wanting more support, how you can do that. Um, my program is called Burnout to Boss, and it's for senior level, high performing women. It's women who want to be more impactful in their organizations in a sustainable way that doesn't have them burned out, exhausted, etc. Um, and it's this idea of when, like, it's for women who want success without like all the sacrifice that we think or that we're told that we have to make to have like a big career and um to be like really senior in our organizations. And I care a lot about it because I want more women in decision making roles in every organization, because I think that that impacts all of our lives a ton, and I want women to feel like they're not sacrificing everything else that they might want in life to do that, to stay in those roles or those positions. um and when I look at successful and fulfilled women, I notice, and it's partially my observation, but I believe that they practice four specific things that also make up the core curriculum of my program. Today we talked about prioritization, and that fits under this focus pillar, where I help my clients hone their focus toward like their high value and long-term goals so that they arrive at their destination faster and without like all the distracting other things that we think we have to do. And it helps them enjoy the process a lot more. So we kind of played here in this like focus pillar. Oops. But I also support women in all success building domains. Um, Again, that has women feeling successful and fulfilled. We talk about, or we work on confident decision making. So you're making decisions quickly, so you're not weighed down. This is like a lot of mindset work, so you're not weighed down by like worrying about what everyone else thinks. It's about how you make decisions that are best for the business and for your team and for your people, without again getting caught in worrying what everyone else is thinking, or and building the confidence to make calls and stand behind them. I also work a lot on team leadership skills. So this is like how to delegate really well so that you can free up your time, how to have hard conversations, how to build a team, how to grow other people's careers. It's really about like how do you become a good manager, because most of us, most industries need you to become a manager, and that is the way that you become more senior and you make more money and move your way up the ranks. A lot of these skills can also very much apply to individual contributors. If your company actually has a route for individual contributors that you can get really senior, all of these things are like very valuable as well. And then this last one, stress management, probably like connects like the most closely to my yoga background. And it's all about like creating the self intimacy to know like where your limits are, to know how to take care of yourself, how to complete stress cycles, how to meditate, how to work with your body and your female biology to show up and be able to serve others. These are just some of the skills and processes that fit under each of these categories. Things like time management methods, North Star mapping, which is like a goal setting process that I teach, the self-coaching model, liberated action taking. We talked about delegation, hard conversations, how do you create value, and then effective rest, cycle syncing, meditation. And then because you're here, I want to share some of the program details. I work with my clients for 6 months. We meet once per week for an hour via Zoom. So you don't need to be in Park City where I live. Depending on how many weeks are in the month, we meet 3 to 4 times per month. You get daily Slack and email support and one-to-one custom kind of application of these ideas and accountability based on what's going on for you specifically. And if you want to work together, the first step in the process is setting up a consult call via a scheduling link. The consult is an hour, and we walk through each of those pillars and where you're at with each of them to see if the program's right for you, if this is a good fit. And then you decide and get started. And if you want to do that, you can email me at maria@marialita.com. You can DM me on social media. I have links everywhere on Instagram, on my website, where you can sign up for a consult call, or just like ping me however you can and I will get you the link. Let's chat about questions for the last couple minutes. Let me see. Okay. Any questions? I know it's like right at time, so if you have to go, that's fine too. But I want to give people an opportunity to ask questions if they have them. It can be about anything. The exercise we just did, specifics on that. It could be like a personal question about something that you specifically face during the holidays. I'm also going to just drop the consult call link into the chat so everyone has it if they need it. Okay, I think that there are no immediate questions. But you can reach me on Instagram. You can send me an email. You can just reply to any email that I've sent about the webinar if questions come up as you're working through these exercises. And you can use, I made the holiday checklist doc as like a very quick list of things that you could sit down and do in 5 minutes initially to kind of get some of the conversations going about like, what are we doing for the holidays? What dish am I bringing for Friendsgiving? Whatever, like really quick things that are almost like text messages. And then you can add more to that checklist after doing the exercise we did today. But I wanted to provide that list if it's helpful, if you have like a couple minutes later today to do that. It'll get you started on just kicking off some of those conversations. Thank you so much to everyone who came live. And if you're watching the recording, I love you too. And I'm available for questions. If you have them, definitely reach out to me. Happy holidays, and I will see everyone soon.